Afternoon, it was excellent. Our message today is out 2 Samuel chapter 5, starting at verse 18. 2 Samuel chapter 5, starting at verse 18. We've just been blessed by the presence of Angela. 2 Samuel chapter 5, starting verse 18. Now, just a little bit of background here. David had just been selected king, and he's about 30 years old, and he had been actually fighting since about 17. And so war for him was no big deal. It was interesting because he had about 400 men that followed him. Now, if you have a military, that's one thing. You know you have to follow whoever the officer is. But these 400 men, they just followed him because they followed him. So it's one thing to have commanding power over 400 men. It's another thing to have them follow you just because they believe in you. So anyway, we start at verse 18. This is right after he was selected king. The Philistines also came and spread themselves in the valley of Rephaim. Now, this guy, he knows how to fight. Like I said, he's been doing it for 13 years. He knows something about it. Verse 19, and David inquired of the Lord. First thing he does, he knows how to fight. There's nothing you don't know how to do that David didn't know how to fight, at least as much. He had experience. He knew how to get the job done. And the first thing he does is he inquires of the God, saying, shall I go up to the Philistines? Wilt thou deliver them into my hand? And will the Lord, and the Lord said unto David, go up, for I will doubtless deliver the Philistines into thine hand. So, even though he knows how to fight, and he knows how to make war, first thing he does is he goes to God, and he says, what should I do? Should I go up to them? Should I go fight them directly? And God says, yep. I'll deliver them into the Philistines into your hand. That is, they're going to lose against you. So, this is exactly what he's looking for. You don't want to start a war that you think you can lose. So, he knows God well enough that he goes and he asks God first, what should I do? And David came to Baal Perazim, and David smote them there, and said, the Lord hath broken forth upon mine enemies before me, as the breach of waters. Therefore it was called by the name of that place Baal Perazim. And they that were left there, and they left there their images, their religious images, and David and his men burned them. And the Philistines came up yet again and spread themselves in the valley of Rephaim. Now you think, well, it worked the first time. I'm just going to do the same thing the second time, right? Now, he's not presumptuous. That's presumption. Verse 23, and when David inquired of the Lord again, he said, thou shalt not go up, but fetch a compass behind them, and come upon them over against the mulberry trees. So you say, no, you don't go straight up to them this time. You go around behind them. And there's mulberry trees, go hide the mulberry trees. And it shall be, when thou hearest the sound of a going in the tops of the mulberry trees, he's talking about the wind blowing in the top of the trees, that then thou shalt bestir thyself, for then shall the Lord go out before thee to smite the host of the Philistines. So God said, no, you got to do it differently then. Come up behind them, and when the wind blows in the mulberry trees, that's the time to attack. David did so, and the Lord, as the Lord had commanded him, and smote the Philistines from Geba until thou come to Gazer. So, what's the point of this message? The point is, it doesn't matter how well you know your job, or whatever challenge you've got in front of you. Dealing with a family member, dealing with an illness, dealing with whatever problem it is. There's no problem that you think you know how to solve better than David did. And the first thing he did was he asked God, what do I do? It's not like he didn't have an idea. He did this actually for a living. Until he was anointed king, he did this for a living. He knew how to make war. And the first thing he did was he went to God and asked him. Now, the Bible tells us that David was a man after God's heart. What does it mean? It means he had the same kind of heart that God had, to do the right thing. So he was looking at this and said, well, I don't want to fight a war I don't have to fight. I don't want to lose if I don't have to. So he asked the question, should I fight and will I win? And obviously God wanted him to fight, but he said, yeah, and this is how you do it. Why is that important for us? Because there's no problem you have that God doesn't have a way of solving it for you. I'm going to repeat that. There's no problem that you have today that God doesn't have a solution for. But guess what? You have to get with his program. You got to ask him for direction. He will give you direction. He'll not only give you direction, if you need it, he will give you a confirmation of what you need to do. And then most people think that it's optional. But you know, when God puts it in your heart to do the right thing, it's not optional. Not really. Because when you do what God tells you to do, there's always a blessing associated with it. When you do what God tells you to do, he blesses it. Why? Because he spoke it and he meant it. But guess what? When you work against what God told you to do, there's always a curse associated with it. So if you don't do what you took the time to ask him to do, and he told you what it was, and you decide, no, that's optional, I don't feel like doing that, I don't think it's going to work, don't waste the time asking if you're not going to do what he tells you to do. Why waste the time if you're not going to do it? So if you're going to ask, listen to what he says and do it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm sure that going all the way around the Philistines wasn't so easy because they don't know what to expect either, but they know that David's a fighter. They don't know anything about God standing behind them. They just know he's trouble to tangle with. So they're going to be on their alert. So I don't think it was easy for him to do, but he did what he was told. He got behind them and he waited for the wind to blow in the trees. Now can you imagine what kind of a direction is that? Wait till the wind blows in the trees. It's like, you know, the hardest thing for a Christian to do is wait. The absolute hardest thing for a Christian is to wait. And he says, yeah, wait till you hear the wind in the trees. What kind of a direction is that? Wait for the wind in the trees? That's supposed to give me success? Yeah, God says, yeah, it's time to move. You know, like I said, the hardest thing to do is to wait. And yet sometimes that's what the whole program is about. Why? Because to wait is to entrust your situation into the hands of God. There are times when he'll have you do things, but there are also other times when he'll say, just sit down quiet and wait to see me solve the problem. Not easy. Because we all want to do something. We all feel productive when we're doing something. Well, I was doing something. I did something to make it happen. No, it doesn't work like that. God causes problems. He says so right in his word, and he takes ownership of it. But there's no problem that he doesn't cause for us, that he hasn't got a solution. Why? It's simple. He can take our life anytime. It's not about killing us. It's precious in the sight of God is the death of his servants. He's not there to kill us. He's not even there to beat us up. He's there so that we can trust him with the problems to draw closer to him. That's all about the walk of faith. That's believing that God has got your back. People don't realize faith is all about God having your back. It's one thing to say it. Lots of people confess it. But how many live it? Can you honestly say that you gave your problems to God and you're trusting your problems to God? That's a lot more difficult than just saying, I'm trusting God. Because real trust of God is you can keep silent, you can sit down, and you can wait for God to do what he said he's going to do. The toughest thing. Why? Because you can't take credit for anything when you just sit there and wait for him to do something. Now, that doesn't mean you're supposed to just sit and wait for God to do everything. You have to be in the right place, and that's why we pray. And then he gives you the directions. I want you to do this, or I don't want you to do something. Sometimes it's like when he says to David, just wait. When you get there, wait for the wind. In the tops of the mulberry trees. Who wants to wait? Nobody wants to wait. We want to do what we need to do and get on with the program. Solve the problem. Yeah, well, for God it's not about solving the problem. He's been around a lot longer than we have, and he's going to be there a lot longer after we're gone. He knows our problems and he wants to solve them. But will we give him the problems we have to solve? We all want to meddle with him. I told you this story a while back. One day my father came back with this half-ton that he had. Half-ton truck. And he said, it's not running well. I have to have a look at it. I said, Dad, you better wait till Jack, my older brother, gets home. Because he actually studied in school. Engines. He said, no, I can take care of this. It's just the carburetor. And he kept tinkering with it, and it kept sounding worse and worse and worse until it finally quit. And then he turned to me and he said, well, I guess we'll wait till Jack gets home. And, you know, we tinker with stuff until it's totally broken, then we'll say, okay, I can give it to God now. But that never works, does it? It never works. Even at that point, God will take it if you'll give it to him. But by that time, you're so busy tinkering with it, you want to continue to tinker with it. You're not interested in giving it to God. Nobody is. It's all about faith. Trusting the God that saved us, that called us out of darkness. And that's what he wants from us, to bring into that place of peace in him. You know, when we have problems, we get hyped up. We get excited. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want that. That is not from God. We do that to ourselves. He wants to bring us to that place where we're so grounded in God that it's like, I know God has this, and he can take care of it. And he will take care of it. Not that he can. He will take care of it. But that means that we have to go through problems ourselves and trust them. He'll start small, and then we'll see it happen, and he'll grow us into a place where we can trust him for everything. And that's what the walk of faith is about. And that's my message for today.